In an age dominated by technological marvels, relentless distractions, and the relentless pursuit of instant gratification, the timeless wisdom of the ancients beckons as a beacon in the tumult. The Enchiridion, descendant of Stoic philosophy, offers more than mere instructions. It delivers a manual for conscious living, providing the structure, insight, and courage needed to thrive in the modern era. It invites the reader to quiet the noise, examine the fabric of their being, and reclaim meaning amidst the confusion. The appeal of ancient wisdom lies not in its antiquity, but in its enduring relevance. Despite centuries of change, human beings are fundamentally connected by similar questions. What is true contentment? How can we navigate suffering and adversity? What does it mean to live virtuously? These queries echo through time, with philosophers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius serving as guides. Their words, preserved through the ages, remain both elegant in simplicity and profound in impact, urging us to become the architects of our own character. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to support the channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an audiobook that could change your life. Now let's begin. Enjoy. Chapter 1. The Handbook of the Soul, Rediscovering Epictetus. Epictetus's story begins not in the marble halls of ancient philosophers, but in the humblest of places, a Roman slave's quarters. His journey to freedom, both physical and spiritual, is extraordinary for its transformative power. In revisiting his life and teachings, we are called not only to marvel, but to embrace a philosophy forged in adversity. The Enchiridion, Epictetus's compact manual of living, is more than a set of admonitions. It is an invitation to realign ourselves with what truly matters. In its opening lines, Epictetus directs attention to the division between things we can control and those we cannot. To apply his guidance in the modern era is to reclaim agency over the self, especially when the world feels overwhelming. Epictetus teaches that philosophy is not a speculative discipline reserved for academic discourse alone. It is practical, a daily exercise in discernment and adjustment. He challenges us to interrogate our habits, motivations, and assumptions, urging us to see the soul not as a static receptacle of knowledge, but as a dynamic force, capable of growth and resilience. His concept of the handbook is illustrative. Just as a soldier consults a field manual in times of uncertainty, Epictetus prompts us to turn to philosophy in moments of doubt and distress. Unlike many ancient works, the Enchiridion is unfussy and direct. Its aphorisms, distilled through years of reflection, are not meant to be memorized passively, but lived actively. Rediscovering Epictetus means embracing his remarkable ability to simplify the complexities of existence. He strips away the external trappings, wealth, status, reputation, and focuses attention on the one thing truly ours: reasoned choice. His insistence on living according to nature reminds us that human beings are rational by design, capable of aligning their will with the broader harmony of the universe. Consider the modern soul, buffeted by unceasing information flows, subjected to the allure of material success, fearful of unpredictable futures. Epictetus would regard these as symptoms of a spirit untethered from its roots. He would prescribe regular reflection on what is truly good and what is merely preferred, a practice designed to strengthen the inner citadel against external storms. Yet, Epictetus is not a stern taskmaster. He advocates for gentleness, for patience with oneself, and for incremental progress. He warns against perfectionism, promising that sincere effort, day by day, is the path to liberation. Each obstacle, each setback, is not an impediment, but a teacher. The handbook, then, is as relevant now as it was in ancient Rome. It asks modern readers to stop, take stock, and engage in a dialogue with themselves. Its lessons are not simply to be read, but to be inhabited. In moments of irritation, in times of loss, in days of routine drudgery. For Epictetus, such moments are the crucible in which the soul's character is forged, his life, marked by suffering but indelibly shaped by resilience, echoes the possibility available to us all. We are invited, through his words, to rediscover not only an ancient philosopher, but the dormant philosopher within. In this chapter, readers will delve into Epictetus' biography, his constraints, his rise to philosophical prominence, and his dramatic teachings. They will encounter the essential doctrines at the heart of his philosophy and learn how to construct their own handbook of the soul, calibrated not for the circumstances of antiquity, but for the tangled demands of now. By the chapter's end, Epictetus will not seem distant or obscure. He will stand as a companion, offering wisdom at the crossroads of every modern dilemma. His voice, underscored by humility and strength, becomes a reliable guide for anyone willing to tread the path of transformation. Chapter 2. What you control and what you don't. To understand Epictetus is to grasp the elegant simplicity with which he divides reality. The first principle in the Enchiridion, the bedrock upon which all subsequent teachings rest, is the distinction between what is within our control and what resides beyond it. This division holds immense power, especially in a world fixated on mastery and prediction. Epictetus tells us, some things are up to us and some are not up to us. This axis is not merely philosophical, it is deeply practical. At its core lies freedom, the kind that depends not on circumstance, but on attitude and choice. What do we control? Our judgments, impulses, desires, aversions, and the way we respond to events. These originate in the mind, guided by intention and reason. What lies beyond our control? The bodies we inhabit, the fortunes we encounter, the opinions of others, the winds of fate, sickness, and death. These, for Epictetus, are externals. The modern mind grapples incessantly with uncertainty, whether in financial markets, relationships, career pursuits, or world events. Much energy is expended in attempting to bend the external world to our will. Epictetus counsels against this futility. To attach our peace of mind to what we cannot command is to invite disappointment and agitation. He does not advocate passivity or resignation. The emphasis is on wise engagement, a recalibration of effort toward those spheres where choice and discipline can affect change. The soul's sovereignty must be preserved, he insists, for this is our intrinsic possession. Imagine the daily frustrations, a missed train, a colleague's critique, an unpredictable illness. Epictetus would ask, was this truly within your power to prevent? If not, then let it go. Attend only to the realm where your choices matter. This is not avoidance, but mature acceptance, a harmony with the order of things. In the context of modern psychology, we see similar themes. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, for example, teaches clients to differentiate thoughts from uncontrollable events, to intervene where they have agency, and to accept what they cannot change. Epictetus's wisdom thus finds striking echoes in contemporary mental health practices, but his approach is more than technique. It is an ethos. The person who internalizes the distinction becomes unshakable, immune to outside turbulence. He remains attentive and responsive, but inwardly he is grounded in the reality of his own limits and powers. Detachment is not indifference. It is active discernment. To recognize what is and is not up to us is to invest our life force where it will bear fruit, rather than waste it in endless frustration. This is a core principle for navigating the swirling chaos of the modern world. Epictetus teaches, too, that our judgments about externals can be revised. When hardships arise, he urges us to see them as opportunities for practice, tests of our capacity for virtue, courage, and stamina. The world deals cards. How we play them, the attitude we embody, remains ours to choose. In this chapter, Readers are invited to conduct a personal audit, to list those daily irritations, anxieties, ambitions, and hopes, dividing each into columns, what is mine to decide and what is not. This exercise, repeated regularly, fosters not only clarity but profound calm. The wisdom of relinquishing control is paradoxical. In accepting limits, we discover freedoms previously obscured. No longer enslaved to the outcomes, we become free to cultivate intention, presence, and equanimity. The storms rage outside, but the soul stands firm within its citadel. To live by this principle is to walk lightly, free from the weight of impossible demands. It is to greet each moment with curiosity rather than compulsion, openness rather than fear. Epictetus does not promise a problem-free existence, but he offers the key to resilience, a mind trained in the subtle art of knowing what to hold close and what to release. Chapter 3. Desire, aversion, and the art of detachment. Desire and aversion, these twin forces animate the human experience. From the first moments of awareness, we chase what pleases and flee what pains. Yet in the ancient view of Epictetus, how we relate to these impulses determines the quality of our lives. Desires unchecked can enslave. We may hunger for wealth, recognition, pleasure, certainty, each promising fulfillment, but in excess, breeding dependence and agitation. Aversion likewise can consume us. Fear of loss, of discomfort, of change can dominate the mind, constricting possibility and resilience. Epictetus does not demand that we eliminate desire and aversion. Rather, he proposes that we reorient them, tethering them only to what is truly good, virtue, and avoiding only what is genuinely harmful, a lapse in character or judgment. All else, he insists, is indifferent, lying beyond the true sphere of our sovereignty. This perspective is radical. To desire and fear only what depends on our own thoughts and actions is to achieve detachment, not as coldness or withdrawal, but as liberation from the tyranny of the external world. Consider the modern landscape. Advertising bombards us with inducements. Social media programs our minds toward comparison and envy, and the engine of the economy perpetually drives yearning for the next thing. Detachment in this context is countercultural, a reclaiming of attention from the grasping hands of distraction and dissatisfaction. Epictetus recommends self-inquiry. When stirred by desire, pause and ask, does this serve my highest self? Or does it chain me to the whims of circumstance? When seized by aversion, reflect, does this truly imperil my character, or is it simply discomfort, fleeting and powerless to harm my soul? The art of detachment is not self-denial for its own sake, but a cultivated practice of freedom. It is the deliberate centering of passion on the internal goods, wisdom, courage, justice, temperance. It is the refusal to be jerked around by every pleasure or pain. In practical terms, this means attending to desire as a teacher. When you want something, analyze the cost. Will its pursuit make me freer or more enslaved? When you fear something, examine its substance. Is this a threat to my values or merely to my comfort? Detachment, then, is dynamic. It does not mean withdrawal from life's richness, but a stance of poised engagement. The detached person enjoys beauty, experiences pleasure, feels sorrow, but he does not anchor well-being to these. They flow through him, not possess him. Modern science endorses moderation. Studies on happiness reveal that those who can regulate their desires and accept discomfort fare better in long-term well-being. Self-discipline, mindfulness, and gratitude all are contemporary synonyms for ancient detachment. Epictetus teaches that the highest freedom is not the absence of desire or pain, but mastery over their influence. He calls for rigorous examination and gentle realignment, day by day, breath by breath. In this chapter, readers are invited to reflect on the play of desire and aversion in their own lives. Journal exercises, meditative practices, and thought experiments guide the development of detachment. not as suppression, but as wise partnership with one's nature. As modern minds become skilled in this art, anxiety lessens, clarity increases, and inner peace becomes a lived reality. Chapter 4. Freedom through acceptance. Freedom is the great quest of both ancient and modern humanity. Yet for Epictetus, freedom is not achieved by changing the world, but by accepting it. His prescription is subtle: to surrender, not to defeat, but to reality as it is. Acceptance in Stoic philosophy is active. It is a courageous facing of circumstances, a refusal to waste energy on protest or denial. The world turns, events unfold, fortune bestows and withdraws. The wise person ceases to rail against necessity and instead seeks to harmonize his response with it. Epictetus argues that acceptance is the anchor of tranquility. When we insist that things should be other than they are, we foster frustration and dismay. When we reconcile ourselves to fact, we become serene, able to adapt our actions creatively and gracefully. This is not acquiescence or passivity. Epictetus does not teach us to resign ourselves to injustice or to neglect self-improvement. Acceptance is the art of clear seeing, a refusal to be entrapped by fantasy or wishful thinking. It is the foundation for effective action, for only by confronting the world as it is can we act wisely. In modern life, acceptance is often confused with resignation. We imagine letting go means giving up. Epictetus corrects this error, showing that true acceptance is the starting point for power. By letting go of how things should be, we unlock energy for what can be done next. Consider the daily setbacks: traffic, illness, uncertainty, loss. Our instinct is to resist, to struggle mentally against the facts, to nurture grievance and anxiety. Epictetus teaches the opposite: to say yes to what cannot be changed and no to unnecessary suffering. In psychology, acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, builds upon this idea. It trains clients to accept their feelings, thoughts, and circumstances instead of futile resistance, and to commit to values-driven action. Epictetus's wisdom is thus alive in contemporary therapeutic practice. The power of acceptance lies in its paradox. By letting go, we gain strength. By ceasing to fight reality, we recover our freedom to focus on what is still possible, what remains in our influence. We enter the flow of life, unburdened by constant battles with fate. Epictetus calls us to a radical trust in the order of the universe. He contends that all things occur as part of a greater whole, and while we may not see the pattern, faith in its benevolent structure lends peace. Even suffering, he teaches, is an opportunity for the cultivation of virtue. This chapter guides readers through exercises in acceptance. We learn to identify moments of resistance, to sit with discomfort, to explore the story we tell ourselves about how things should be. Through reflective practice, we come to realize that acceptance is not surrender, but the ultimate assertion of freedom. When we fully accept, we become like water, fluid, adaptable, persistent. Our sorrow is not denied or suppressed, but honored as part of the human experience. Our joy is not clung to, but savored in the moment. Acceptance is the inner door to liberty. Epictetus promises that when we master it, life's burdens grow lighter, possibilities grow greater, and the soul steps forth with renewed boldness. Chapter 5. The Power of Inner Discipline. Within the Stoic tradition, discipline is exalted not as mere control, but as the art of self-mastery, a gentle but firm guidance of the soul toward its highest capacities. For Epictetus, discipline is not repression. It's the daily cultivation of virtuous habit, the shaping of thought and action through conscious intention. The world commends discipline for its visible achievements: fitness, productivity, success. Epictetus, however, focuses on the invisible victories: the taming of impulse, the regulation of emotion, the steadfast maintenance of principle. His discipline is internal, steady, and enduring. Discipline, as the Stoics understand it, begins with attention. We are to watch ourselves constantly, not with harsh judgment, but with curiosity. When desires surge or anger flares, discipline invites us to pause, to note the phenomenon, and to respond deliberately. Epictetus teaches that virtue is not a spontaneous gift, but the outcome of repeated practice. Like a musician mastering his instrument, the philosopher trains his faculties: endurance, patience, forbearance, joy in effort. The disciplined soul does not crush its nature, but refines it. Modern science affirms the value of such practice. Neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to rewire itself through repeated thought and behavior, echoes the ancient faith in habit's power. Each moment of managed impulse, each act of restraint, strengthens the mind's capability to choose wisely. Discipline is a friend, not an enemy. Epictetus recommends self-reminders, gentle corrections, and the setting of small, achievable goals. Progress is incremental. Relapses are normal. The disciplined person is not rigid but flexible, capable of adaptation and growth. Temptations are everywhere in modern life. We are urged to indulge, to escape, to cut corners. The power of inner discipline is in resisting these calls, not by force or shame, but by recall of the greater good. We act not to please others, nor to uphold arbitrary rules, but to foster the flourishing of our own character. Epictetus reminds us that discipline is the foundation for all other virtues. Without it, reason falters, emotion rules, intention wanes. With it, even small victories accumulate, forming the substance of happiness and the seedbed of greatness. This chapter offers practical strategies: morning reflections, evening audits, mindful pauses, and gradual habit formation. Discipline, when framed as devotion to excellence rather than denial, becomes less a burden and more a path to joy. Discipline, then, is the architect of liberty. It fashions the soul into a vessel capable of weathering storms, adapting, achieving, and savoring the fullness of life. For Epictetus and for us, it is the keystone, quiet, persistent, and indispensable. Chapter 10. The Virtue of Simplicity. In a world brimming with abundance and distraction, the call to simplicity is often drowned out by the clamor for more. The marketplace of modernity tempts us with endless novelty, the latest gadgets, fleeting trends, the next must-have experience. Yet beneath this restless pursuit, there lies a hunger for the profound fulfillment that only a simple, purposeful life can offer. The Stoics treasured simplicity, not as deprivation, but as freedom. Seneca writes, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." To live simply is to distinguish between needs and wants, to free oneself from the tyranny of endless acquisition. The ancient Stoics' home was modest, their diet plain, their daily routine marked by deliberate grace. This simplification is not an aesthetic choice, but a pathway to virtue and inner clarity. What is the virtue of simplicity? Is the practice of aligning one's life with what truly matters, stripping away the superfluous until the essentials remain. Simplicity is not only about material goods. It touches our relationships, pursuits, and even our thoughts. The simple person cultivates fewer but deeper relationships, commits to fewer but more meaningful projects, and focuses on quality over quantity in every domain. Modern society makes this harder than ever. Digital overload, social comparison, and advertised desires conspire to keep us perpetually unsatisfied. Yet the antidote remains as accessible now as in the ancient world: the regular practice of self-inquiry. Pause and ask yourself, what do I truly need to thrive? Which possessions, commitments, or habits serve my highest values, and which distract or diminish me? Through these questions, life's clutter slowly falls away, revealing the contours of a deeply satisfying existence. Simplicity breeds gratitude. When we are no longer chasing what is unattainable, we can savor wholly what is already ours. The daily cup of tea, the quiet moment in nature, a conversation that lingers, these become seen not as ordinary, but as extraordinary gifts. The paradox of simplicity is that by having less, you experience more. The noise of excess quiets, making space for the symphony of genuine joy. Practically, cultivating simplicity requires conscious choices. Designate time for reflection and rest. Resist the impulse to multitask endlessly. Focus your attention on one thing at a time. Pare down your environment. Donate what you do not use, and let your living space mirror your internal state. Uncluttered, intentional, serene. In relationships, choose authenticity over impressiveness. In work, strive for impact rather than busyness. Simplicity is the foundation upon which all other virtues grow. When the mind and life are uncluttered, wisdom becomes audible, compassion actionable, and tranquility attainable. Each day, renew the vow to live simply, not as an ascetic, but as a lover of life's true treasures. In doing so, discover riches that neither moth nor market can consume. Chapter 11. Ego, Pride, and the Stoic Way of Humility. Ego and pride, those twin specters of self-importance, haunt the corridors of every human life. Modern culture, with its cult of personality and constant validation, elevates the self to a precarious pedestal. Yet the ancients saw the dangers of unchecked ego long before social media's algorithmic rewards. The Stoics, perhaps more than any other philosophers, championed humility, not as self-effacement, but as true self-knowledge. At the heart of Stoic humility is the recognition of our place in the cosmos. You are a mere fragment of all that is, writes Marcus Aurelius. What is man? A small soul carrying a corpse, Epictetus reminds us, not to breed despair, but to ground us in perspective. Ego inflates our certainties, exaggerates our suffering, and blinds us to the shared humanity all around. Only humility allows for growth. When we acknowledge ignorance, vulnerability, and limitation, we open ourselves to learning and transformation. Modern society often confuses humility with weakness or passivity. In truth, humility requires courage. The courage to admit errors, seek counsel, and value collective wisdom above personal prestige. The Stoic humble person welcomes criticism not as an attack, but as a mirror, reflecting the path of self-correction. They take pride not in external markers of status, but in their fidelity to virtuous principles. Ego is at the root of countless conflicts. It is pride that balks at an apology, stubbornness that refuses reconciliation, narcissism that breeds contempt or envy. In professional life, ego blinds us to feedback. In relationships, it breeds resentments. The Stoic antidote is an abiding sense of commonality. Recall that every person is a mixture of folly and fortune. That greatness is a loan, not a birthright. Practical humility can be cultivated through daily mindfulness. Begin each morning by reflecting on your small but important place in the world. Consider the web of interdependence upon which all success rests. Practice listening more than speaking. Ask questions before offering opinions. When you falter or fail, embrace the error as a tutor, not a tormentor. Give credit generously and accept blame without protest. Seek out the perspective of elders, peers, and even adversaries, knowing that each possesses a kernel of truth unknown to you. Humility also brings relief. To abdicate the burden of infallibility is to rediscover joy in imperfection, humor in error, and peace in uncertainty. The humble Stoic walks lightly upon the earth, unburdened by the need for constant applause or dominance. As you temper ego with humility, you will find doors opening to understanding, forgiveness, genuine connection, and lasting wisdom. In the end, humility is not about thinking less of yourself, but about thinking of yourself less, making space for the richness of the world and the dignity of others. Embrace humility as the Stoics do, and discover both freedom and belonging. Chapter 12. Duty, Purpose, and the common good. A meaningful life, the Stoics teach, is not measured by personal pleasure or avoidance of pain, but by the pursuit of purpose, specifically duty to the common good. In an era preoccupied with individualism and self-fulfillment, this ancient counsel challenges us to expand our horizons and embrace responsibilities that transcend private comfort. Duty, for the Stoic, originates not in compulsion, but in the recognition of interconnectedness. Each person is a node in a vast network: family, society, humanity, and nature. Our actions ripple outward, shaping the world far beyond our immediate reach. Thus, to act well is not only a personal triumph, but a public service. Purpose is discovered through honest introspection. What are my unique gifts, and how can they serve others? What needs exist around me, and how am I positioned to meet them? The Stoics urge us to rise each day with the question, what is required of me right now to contribute meaningfully to the whole? This task may be humble, comforting a friend, performing a tedious job with excellence, volunteering in the community, or it may be grand, envisioning justice or innovation that benefits generations. Modern psychology affirms that happiness blooms when we serve a purpose greater than ourselves. Studies reveal that individuals engaged in service for neighbors, causes, or even strangers report higher levels of satisfaction, resilience, and connection. Yet duty is not always accompanied by applause. Often it demands sacrifice, perseverance, and the relinquishing of immediate reward. The Stoics remind us that duty and purpose are not abstractions, but choices enacted moment by moment. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor entrusted with the fate of millions, wrote privately about his struggles to remain steadfast in daily obligations, even when tempted by fatigue or resentment. What ennobles duty is not the scale, but the intention, the silent, persistent vow to do the next right thing. To cultivate a sense of purpose, begin by clarifying your values. Write a personal mission statement, however brief. Reflect regularly on the legacy you wish to leave. Engage in community, not as a consumer, but as a builder. Offer skills, time, or encouragement whenever possible. When faced with moral ambiguity, ask, what contributes most to the well-being of all? Finally, celebrate the dignity of stewardship. Your life is not separate from the lives of others. Your actions are woven into the eternal tapestry. By embracing your duty and seeking your purpose within the common good, you will find a wellspring of motivation, fulfillment, and serenity undisturbed by the vicissitudes of fate. This is the path of the ancient Stoic, and it endures now, perhaps more urgently than ever. Chapter 13. How to handle insults and criticism. Insults and criticism are among the most common stumbling blocks in the landscape of human relationships. Whether we face harsh words in the workplace, endure fleeting jibes on social media, or navigate pointed remarks among friends and family, the sting remains universally familiar. Yet underlying every insult is an opportunity, an invitation to fortify the citadel of our mind against external disturbance. The ancient Stoics regarded this terrain not merely as a battleground for ego, but as a proving ground for character and tranquility. Epictetus, a formidable figure in Stoic thought, asserted, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This principle forms the foundation for handling insults and criticism with grace. The first step is to recognize that external impressions, words, gestures, opinions, cannot truly harm our essence unless we permit them to do so. The insult itself is an event. Our interpretation grants it power or deprives it thereof. Let us consider a practical scenario. You receive unjust criticism at work. The instinctive reaction may be defensiveness, anger, or self-doubt. The Stoic, however, pauses before responding. Why? Because the Stoic understands that the criticism says more about the critic than the recipient. Perhaps it is the critic's frustration, insecurity, or misunderstanding that drives the remark. By internalizing this perspective, you dissociate your self-worth from external judgment. The Enchiridion advises the cultivation of an inner fortress, a mental space fortified by reason. In this sanctuary, you evaluate feedback dispassionately. If an insult reveals a genuine flaw, thank your critic silently. You have discovered a means for growth. If the criticism proves baseless, maintain equanimity. Knowing your value is not at the mercy of misinformed opinions. Essential to this process is what the Stoics termed apatheia, freedom from destructive passion. This does not mean apathy or indifference, but rather a calm centeredness. One method for nurturing apatheia is through premeditatio malorum, anticipation of adversity. Before entering challenging environments, mentally prepare for potential slights and criticisms. When they arise, they catch you not unawares but ready, like a seasoned sailor bracing for rough seas. Moreover, the practice of reframing is vital. Instead of perceiving criticism as a threat, view it as feedback. Language is powerful. Replace "I was insulted" with "that person chose to express their opinion harshly." This subtle shift transforms victimhood into agency. Take 2. Inspiration from Marcus Aurelius, who wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed." Our emotional reality, Stoics insist, is a landscape sculpted by our own beliefs and choices. This is not to say you must endure all derision silently. There is dignity in responding when necessary, but with restraint and dignity. If you must address an insult, do so with measured calm. Refuse to escalate conflict. Instead, exemplify the composure and wisdom you wish others possessed. Finally, reflect regularly on your responses. After encountering criticism, conduct a brief inventory. Is your peace disturbed? Why? What beliefs underlie your reaction? In this daily exercise, the Stoic carves out resilience. Like the blacksmith tempers steel through fire and water, so too does adversity temper the soul. In sum, the mastery of handling insults and criticism rests not in denying their existence, but in transforming your relationship with them. Through self-reflection, mental preparation, and a commitment to reasoned response, you convert every barb into an occasion for growth and steadfastness. The ancient wisdom contained in the Enchiridion becomes not a set of doctrines, but a living, breathing shield, one that, when held with integrity, renders insults powerless and criticism a tool for continual self-improvement. Chapter 14. The Art of Emotional Control. To live wisely in an ever-shifting world, mastery over one's emotions is indispensable. Emotions, joys, sorrows, angers, fears, course through us with a force both creative and destructive. The Stoic tradition advocates not the suppression of feeling, but the cultivation of sovereign command over one's inner state, enabling us to act with clarity and principle rather than impulse and agitation. The Stoics understood that the root of emotional turmoil lies not in external events, but in our judgments and interpretations. When adversity strikes, a betrayal, financial hardship, illness, the untrained mind reacts with fear, rage, or despair. Epictetus insisted, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things." Perception is the fulcrum. From it, the weight of our emotional responses swings. The journey toward emotional control begins with awareness. Before changing any emotion, one must first detect its presence and acknowledge its influence. The mindful Stoic observes the stirring of anger or anxiety as a scientist studies natural phenomena, without denial, exaggeration, or condemnation. This stance of observation, known as prosauche, is crucial. When irritation flares in a heated argument, before reacting, pause and mentally note, "I feel anger." This simple act of recognition distances you from impulsive reaction and initiates a reflective response. Next is disputation, challenging the beliefs that drive our emotions. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, repeatedly examines the thoughts underlying his own distress. Is this in my power? Is it good or bad? Does it serve a reason? By questioning automatic assumptions, one often discovers that their emotional turbulence rests on shaky ground. The fear of embarrassment, for example, often dissolves when examined with the lens of rationality. What truly is at stake? Does public opinion endanger your virtue? Unlikely. Another central Stoic exercise is the dichotomy of control. Separate all concerns into what you can control and what you cannot. Your judgments, choices, and character lie firmly within your sphere. External events, other people's actions, the weather, unforeseen accidents do not. When emotions surge over uncontrollable matters, gently remind yourself, this is outside my power. My energy belongs elsewhere. Yet emotional control is not achieved by mere denial. The Stoics advocate the transformation of passion into virtue. Anger, for instance, can be harnessed as resolve to address injustice. Fear can become caution and preparedness. Sadness can become a catalyst for compassion. Emotions are thus neither enemies nor tyrants, but raw materials for the sculptor of the self. One classical technique is journaling. Each day, record your emotional experiences, not only their triggers, but your responses and subsequent reflections. Over time, patterns emerge, and the regular practice of writing sharpens the faculty of self-command. When anxiety recurred for Seneca, he wrote, "I must examine my mind and test it. I must see what is wrong with it." Through this ongoing self-dialogue, even stubborn passions yield to reason. Equally important is the cultivation of stillness and solitude. In moments of overwhelm, retreat into quiet reflection. Nature too offers salve. Among trees, by the sea, or in a quiet room, distance yourself from the noise of daily tumult. This solitude is not escapism, but a nurturing soil in which wisdom can take root. Lastly, the habit of daily precepts is invaluable. Begin each morning with reminders. I will face disturbances, but I will remain tranquil. As the old Stoics did, fortify yourself with aphorisms, keeping your mind attuned to the art of equanimity. End each night with a gentle evaluation. Did I master my emotions today? Where did I falter? Where can I grow? The art of emotional control, as taught in the Enchiridion, is a lifelong discipline. It offers not a sterile calmness, but a vibrant serenity, a capacity both to feel deeply and act wisely. Through awareness disputation, the dichotomy of control and daily reflection, you nurture the resilient, harmonious heart of the Stoic, ready to face the storms of life with unwavering tranquility and strength. Chapter 15. Living in accord with nature. The Stoic imperative to live in accord with nature is both profound and practical, demanding not only harmonization with the external world, but also congruence with our true selves. In ancient philosophy, nature embodies more than trees, rivers, and stars. It evokes a universal order, a rational cosmos wherein every being has a purpose and place. To live well, the Stoics taught, is to conform our thoughts and actions to this cosmic law. First, consider nature as order and reason. Each person possesses a faculty, logos, that enables reasoned thought and deliberate choice. Nature's law is not arbitrary. It is rational, consistent, and ordered. When we clash with it, whether through greed, indecision, or self-deceit, we suffer. When we align with it, serenity follows. Living in accord with nature begins with self-knowledge. Socrates' ancient injunction, "Know thyself," is a prelude to Stoic living. Reflect daily on your own nature. What can I control? What desires and impulses arise within me, and do they serve my rational purpose? Observe how the natural world unfolds. Trees bend to the wind, rivers find their course, and animals adapt with simplicity. Like them, humans flourish by accepting reality and acting according to reason, not longing for the impossible or resenting the inevitable. Next, the Stoic recognizes the interconnection of all things. Marcus Aurelius wrote tenderly of the vast community of beings. What injures the hive injures the bee. We are social creatures, designed not for isolation, but for cooperation and mutual aid. To flout this truth is to violate our nature. To honor it is to participate in the grand symphony of existence. living naturally also means acceptance of fate, the amor fati beloved by philosophers. Life brings fortune and misfortune alike. Seasons change, health wanes, loved ones depart. The Stoic does not resist this flux, but embraces it as the wisdom of nature unfolding. What happens to each of us is for the good of the whole. Surrender here is not defeat, but harmonious participation in the world's unfolding story. Yet living in accord with nature does not entail passivity. It calls for action rooted in virtue, courage, justice, moderation, and wisdom. Nature gave us the capacity to discern right from wrong. Our challenge is to act accordingly. In dilemmas large and small, ask, does this choice honor my nature as a rational, moral being? Does it contribute to the well-being of others? In practice, this principle finds expression in ecological responsibility, concern for the common good, and care for our own bodies and minds. Wastefulness, neglect, indulgence, these are departures from natural harmony. Conversely, gratitude, stewardship, and self-care restore balance. Finally, living naturally is a process, not a destination. Each morning, recommit to observing nature's rhythm in yourself and the world. Seek balance, work and rest, solitude and society, striving and surrender. Honor the moment, for as the Stoics remind us, we live only today. Tomorrow is not in our power. Living in accord with nature is the Stoic's compass, always pointing toward authentic living. It asks of us respect, humility, and purpose, a life in which mind and world, desire and reality are not at war, but joined in harmonious accord. Chapter 16, Stoic Training, Practice over Theory. The heart of Stoicism lies not in intellectual speculation, but in practical training. While the ancient philosophers wrote compelling treatises, their true legacy is a rigorous method for cultivating virtue, resilience, and contentment. Epictetus insisted, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." This chapter demystifies the discipline of Stoic training, demonstrating how daily practice transforms abstract ideals into living strengths. The first pillar of Stoic training is preparation. Each day dawns with uncertainty. The wise anticipate adversity through the exercise of premeditatio malorum. Imagine before leaving your home. Today, I may encounter rudeness, setbacks, illness, or loss. By acknowledging life's challenges beforehand, you buffer your mind against emotional shock and fortify your capacity for calm response. Next, Stoic training demands reflection and journaling. Both Seneca and Marcus Aurelius practiced nightly review, recounting what was done well, where impulses swayed reason, and how actions could improve. This steady rhythm of reflection tempers self-deception and catalyzes growth. The journal is your laboratory. Within its pages, you experiment, observe, and refine your character. The discipline of assent is another cornerstone. Before consenting to emotions or beliefs, pause. Is this thought in harmony with reason and nature? Is it based on fact or hasty judgment? When anger, jealousy, or despair beckon, practice withholding assent, examining the basis for emotional reaction. Over time, this method transforms the mind from a restless field of passions into an ordered garden of virtues. Role modeling is equally vital. The Stoics venerated wise exemplars, Socrates, Zeno, Cato, and indeed one's own mentors and contemporaries. Imagine their responses to your dilemmas. How would a sage act here? This reflection calibrates your own conduct to the highest standards, offering guidance in moments of uncertainty. Stoic practice also values physical discipline. Exercise, moderation in food and drink, and care for the body mirror the cultivation of the mind. As Epictetus taught, neglecting the body erodes the will's strength. Combine mental and physical exercise for robust, harmonious development. Social engagement is another training ground. Treat each interaction as an exercise in patience, kindness, and reason. The family meal, the business meeting, the casual encounter all test your commitment to Stoic virtues. Respond to insults with calm. Offer help without expectation. Listen more than you speak. Finally, the discipline of voluntary discomfort polishes resilience. Fast for a day, endure cold, and forgo a luxury. These acts inoculate the mind against hardship, teaching that genuine contentment springs not from abundance, but from self-possession. Theory alone is powerless. Practice enlivens philosophy, transforming thought into lasting character. The Enchiridion is not merely a book of wisdom, but a call for daily effort. Each drilled habit, preparation, reflection, self-restraint, modeling discipline cements Stoicism as a lived reality, granting you unshakable strength in the face of life's unpredictable trials. Chapter 17: Harmony of Mind and Action. The unity of thought and deed marks the fully realized Stoic. Inconsistency between beliefs and behaviors sows internal discord, breeds anxiety and undermines trust, both with oneself and others. Let your mind and your actions be one, intoned the ancients, urging the Stoic not merely to contemplate virtue, but to act upon it seamlessly and without contradiction. Harmony begins with self-scrutiny. Before acting, ask, does this intention reflect my best understanding? Are my motives aligned with reason and virtue? The mind, guided by Stoic principles, sets the course, but action is the vessel that brings wisdom ashore. Integrity is the anchor of this harmony. The Stoic sage is honest, transparent, and trustworthy, never betraying his own values for convenience or gain. Should temptation arise to cheat, deceive, or gossip, the true Stoic remains steadfast, recalling that virtue is its own reward and that compromise breeds inner conflict. By refusing duplicity, you nurture self-respect and foster credibility among others. Decision-making also reflects harmony. The Stoic weighs options against core values, choosing always what harmonizes with justice, courage, and wisdom. In business, in family, and public life, this practice eliminates regret and confusion. Whatever befalls, you know you acted with integrity. Nevertheless, the journey to harmony is not without struggle. Distraction, vice, and weakness persist, testing the will. The key is persistent rehearsal, returning to the principles of the Enchiridion each day, recommitting to congruent living. Should you falter, forgive yourself, reflect, and realign. Mindful action breeds joy and serenity. When deeds match thinking, anxiety fades, for the mind no longer anticipates regret or remorse. Harmony with oneself radiates outward, enriching relationships and empowering others by example. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Each moment is a crucible, an opportunity for alignment. Whether speaking, working, loving, or resting, choose congruence between mind and action, and the world itself transforms into an arena of peace and purpose. Chapter 18: Wisdom in Relationships and Community. While Stoicism champions personal virtue, its fullest flowering occurs in the context of others. We are by nature social creatures. Wisdom's true test is found in the world of family, friendship, work, and civic life. The Enchiridion teaches that meaningful relationships are not founded on dependency or self-sacrifice, but mutual respect, rational conduct, and compassionate boundaries. First, the wise Stoic brings presence to relationships. During conversation or conflict, listen intently, set aside ego, and respond from genuine concern rather than pride. Avoid overreacting to slights, for as Epictetus reminds us, most offenses are transient, products of ignorance or misunderstanding. Stoic wisdom also embodies compassion, not passive indulgence, but active care for others' growth. In offering advice, praise, or constructive criticism, do so without malice or superiority. Understand that others are, like you, navigating their own trials. Boundaries are essential. The Stoic neither enables destructive behavior nor abandons principles for the sake of harmony. Disagreement is inevitable. Express your views with kindness, but hold firm to reason. The balance between openness and firmness defines wise engagement. Community participation is the broad extension of Stoic wisdom. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius served Rome as emperor, arguing that every citizen must contribute with diligence and equity. Volunteer your talents, support just causes, and attend to the well-being of the collective. Your virtues become the bedrock of a healthy society. Conflict, though unwanted, must be handled with discipline. Respond not with escalation, but with calm inquiry. What motivated this behavior? Can understanding be reached? At times, withdrawal from toxic relationships is prudent. At others, forgiveness reclaims lost harmony. In intimate relationships, friendship, partnership, family, the Stoic underpins love with respect and honesty. Celebrate successes, support growth, endure difficulties together, but always with clear communication and unwavering virtue. Stoic love is robust, enduring not because of blind passion, but because of mutual moral support. Finally, reflect often. Does this relationship or community elevate virtue in both parties? If not, calmly reconsider your involvement. The Stoic seeks not quantity but quality, not popularity but integrity. Wisdom in relationships and community is the public face of Stoicism. By living with presence, compassion, boundaries, and civic responsibility, you transform not only yourself, but the fabric of the world around you, forging bonds that weather adversity and flourish with meaning. Chapter 19. The Stoic Sage. Becoming your best self. Stoicism, more than a school of philosophy, is a way of living, a disciplined approach to the ages-old quest for personal excellence. To become your best self, the Stoics invite you to step beyond mere ambition or fleeting desire and embark on a profound transformation of character. The Stoic sage is not an unreachable ideal, but a model that acts as a guiding North Star, a person whose actions reveal authentic virtue and whose mindset fosters resilience in any circumstance to adapt. The heart of Stoicism is the conviction that the good life is achieved not through external possessions or status, but by cultivating an inner fortress of wisdom, courage, and self-control. Epictetus, a slave who became one of the greatest teachers of Stoic philosophy, insisted that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This deceptively simple notion reframes the locus of control from the whims of fortune to the discipline of the self. To begin on this path, consider three key pillars: awareness, choice, and persistence. Awareness is the vigilant observation of both one's thoughts and the world's challenges, without unnecessary judgment. It demands honesty, facing one's fears, biases, and shortcomings with humility, resisting the temptation to rationalize away truths. The sage learns to pause, reflect, and see with clarity, a skill needed more than ever in an era of information overload. Choice follows awareness. The Stoic sage distinguishes between what is controllable and what is not, directing energy solely towards personal response and attitude. Therein lies autonomy. When confronted with adversity, a failed relationship, workplace conflict, or global uncertainty, the wise person recognizes that reactions, beliefs, and will are always within grasp. Through understanding the dichotomy of control, one liberates oneself from anxiety over outcomes. Serenity arises from mastery over self, not mastery over fate. Persistence, the third pillar, is perhaps the most challenging. The journey towards self-development is fraught with setbacks and frustrations. The Stoic sage, however, persists, learning from failure rather than succumbing to it. Marcus Aurelius, whose meditations are a testament to the lifelong struggle for virtue, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Persistence means returning again and again to one's principles, never permitting circumstances to dictate character. Practical exercises ground these teachings. Journaling, for instance, invites introspection while clarifying intentions and evaluating progress. By recalling daily events and one's responses, the practitioner uncovers patterns of behavior, identifying areas for growth. Mindful meditation, too, strengthens focus, allowing the sage to remain undisturbed amid life's storms. Importantly, the pursuit of wisdom is not solitary. The Stoics valued the cultivation of community, the sharing of insight, and the encouragement of others. By embodying virtue, justice, courage, temperance, and wisdom, the sage not only benefits internally, but becomes a source of inspiration, forging relationships built on mutual respect and understanding. Becoming your best self, therefore, is not about self-denial, but self-transformation. Not retreating from the world, but engaging with it with mindfulness and integrity. As you embark on the Stoic path, remember the words of Seneca. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. The sage is not lucky by accident, but by diligent adherence to a philosophy that prizes readiness, kindness, and uncompromising pursuit of the good. As we delve further into the Enchiridion, let this aspiration to sagehood anchor each lesson. The modern mind, filled with doubt and distraction, can find solace and purpose in the ancient quest for virtue. The journey will demand patience, courage, and self-examination, but the rewards are profound: serenity, clarity, and a life fully lived. Chapter 20. The Eternal Handbook, Living the Enchiridion in the Modern World. The enduring appeal of the Enchiridion lies in its practicality, its refusal to dwell in abstraction, its insistence on applicability. In a world characterized by rapid technological change, cultural complexity, and daily uncertainties, the teachings of ancient Stoics act as a manual not merely for surviving, but thriving. The Enchiridion's compact wisdom can be a toolkit for cultivating meaning, navigating adversity, and forging a path of personal integrity. Modern existence presents challenges that Epictetus could scarcely have imagined. Ceaseless connectivity, information overload, social media anxieties, and the volatility of global economies. Yet the core dilemmas are unchanged. How to control our emotions, respond to unpredictability, and act with virtue amid external chaos. Thus, living the Enchiridion starts with translation, not just of words, but of principles into concrete habits. The dichotomy of control is a central theme. In the flurry of daily tasks, emails, deadlines, social obligations, stress arises, particularly when we attempt to govern the uncontrollable. The Stoic, fortified by the Enchiridion, responds by focusing attention on attitudes, decisions, and actions that are truly within command. This reframing reduces anxiety as the individual ceases futile battles against external circumstances. By embracing power over perception and response, one fosters a serenity that is resilient to the shifting winds of contemporary life. Adaptability is another virtue for the modern practitioner. The world is nuanced, diverse, and often ambiguous. Ancient wisdom must not be wielded rigidly, but applied with discernment. The Enchiridion encourages situational flexibility, holding to values while adjusting to context. For instance, online communication challenge show honesty and kindness are delivered. Navigating difficult conversations or public criticism demands both courage and compassion, virtues extolled by Stoics. Through regular reflection, one hones the ability to discern when to act, when to pause, and when to pivot without sacrificing integrity. Digital minimalism can stem from Stoic practice. The overabundance of stimuli creates noise that drowns out clarity and presence. By cultivating mindful consumption of information, setting boundaries, and prioritizing depth over breadth, practitioners create an environment conducive to self-mastery. The Enchiridion's exhortation to choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed, compels us to treat the digital world as we do any other challenge, constructively and with awareness. Resilience, a timeless aspiration, is especially prized today. The Stoic approach is neither denial of hardship nor forced optimism, but a clear-eyed courage to encounter adversity head-on. The Eternal Handbook prescribes premeditatio malorum, imagining possible misfortunes in advance, so when they occur, one is not shaken, but prepared. This practice strengthens psychological armor, enabling the modern individual to maintain composure when confronted by personal, societal, or systemic setbacks. Living the Enchiridion also means seeking community, not just self-improvement. Stoic teachings encourage building connections with others, motivating a shift from solitary contemplation to collective flourishing. Acts of kindness, forgiveness, and civil discourse rebuild the social fabric frayed by polarizing currents. By nurturing empathy and treating all persons as members of a common humanity, the practitioner not only benefits personally, but also contributes to broader social harmony. Lastly, the Enchiridion guides us toward continual growth. Life, ancient or modern, is a process of becoming. Each day holds opportunities for choice, adjustment, and reflection. The Handbook does not promise perfection, but progress, a steady ascent toward wisdom and fulfillment. In embracing and embodying the Enchiridion, we discover that ancient wisdom does not belong to the past. It lives wherever minds seek clarity, hearts strive for virtue, and hands work toward the common good. The Eternal Handbook is open, inviting each reader to take up its lessons anew, facing the future with courage, purpose, and hope. If you found this video helpful, inspiring, or entertaining, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on future content. Your support means the world. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.